Poor girl asks Billionaire for a job to buy milk for her brother. His response changes her life. The rain was relentless, sheeting down onto the polished streets of Philadelphia, turning the city lights into shimmering, distorted reflections on the asphalt. Inside the sleek, obsidian tower that housed the headquarters of Pierce Foods, Sophia Pierce stood looking out her panoramic office window on the 40th floor. Below, the city sprawled, a complex tapestry of privilege and poverty, ambition and struggle, a landscape she had navigated, conquered, and now largely observed from a detached height. At 58, Sophia was the undisputed queen of the American grocery empire she had built from scratch. Pierce Food supermarkets, with their signature green and gold logo, dotted the nation. She was lauded for her business acumen, her ruthless efficiency, and her uncanny ability to anticipate market trends. She was also known, in both boardrooms and gossip columns, for her icy demeanor, her fierce independence, and her profound lack of personal attachments. Sophia Pierce hadn't gotten to the top by being soft. She'd clawed her way up from an orphanage in streets not unlike the ones glistening darkly below, and she trusted no one implicitly, least of all sentiment. Her long day, filled with budget forecasts, supply chain logistics, and tense negotiations, was finally over. Her driver, Michael, a stoic man who'd been with her for over a decade, would be waiting downstairs. Bundling herself into her tailored cashmere coat, Sophia descended in the private elevator, the silence amplifying the sterile luxury that surrounded her. As she exited the grand, marble-floored lobby, a liveried doorman holding a large black umbrella rushed to shield her from the downpour on her short walk to the waiting town car. The car door was already open, Michael standing patiently beside it. But just as Sophia moved to step inside, a small figure darted from the shadows of a nearby recessed building entrance, moving with a desperate urgency that made the doorman startle. "Miss, please." It was a girl, impossibly small and thin, looking around 13. Her cheap jacket and jeans were soaked through, plastered to her slight frame. Rainwater dripped from her tangled brown hair in her wide, frightened eyes. She stopped directly in front of Sophia, blocking her path to the car, her hands twisting nervously. Sophia's first reaction was irritation. Philadelphia had its share of panhandlers and street kids, but they usually kept their distance from the imposing Pierce Tower. "Move along," she said, her voice sharp, cutting through the sound of the rain. "I don't have anything for you." The girl flinched but held her ground. "Not money," she pleaded, her voice hoarse, trembling with cold and desperation. "Work, please, miss. Any job. I'll clean floors, take out trash, anything. My little brother, he needs milk. We haven't, there's no money left." Sophia's eyes narrowed. "A job? Preposterous." Child labor laws aside, the girl looked half-starved and unsteady on her feet. "Don't be ridiculous," Sophia snapped, trying to sidestep her. "I don't employ children. Go to a shelter. They're full." The girl cried, a raw sob catching in her throat. She took a half-step closer, close enough for Sophia to see the chapped lips and the genuine terror in her eyes. "We tried. Please, just for tonight. Just enough for milk and maybe some bread." Sophia felt a flicker of something cold and unwelcome stir within her, a ghost memory. Decades ago, she had been that girl. Small, hungry, desperate, invisible on these same city streets. She remembered the gnawing emptiness, the fear, the shame of asking, the sting of rejection. She pushed the memory down, hardening her expression. Sentiment was a weakness she couldn't afford then and wouldn't indulge now. "Michael," she said curtly, gesturing for her driver to handle it. But the girl, whose name Sophia would later learn was Mia, seemed to sense the finality. In a last, desperate gamble, she grabbed Sophia's coat sleeve, her small, cold fingers surprisingly strong. "He's sick," she choked out, tears finally spilling, mixing with the rain on her face. "He's just over there. Please, just look." Her touch, her raw desperation, broke through Sophia's carefully constructed wall in a way that mere words hadn't. Against her better judgment, against every instinct honed by years of self-preservation, Sophia hesitated. "Where?" she asked, the single word sounding foreign on her own lips. Mia pointed a trembling finger towards the dark, recessed entrance she had emerged from, a narrow space between Pierce Tower and the adjacent building, littered with damp cardboard and debris. Sophia signaled Michael to wait, pulled her coat tighter, and followed Mia's gaze, peering into the shadows. There, huddled beneath a tattered, thin blanket that offered little protection from the damp chill, was a tiny boy, no older than 4. He was pale, his breathing shallow, punctuated by a weak, rattling cough that tore at the silence. He looked utterly miserable and achingly vulnerable. "That's Timmy," Mia whispered, her voice thick with tears. "Mama died. The sickness it took her last month. Daddy, he left a long time ago. It's just us. I promised Mama I'd look after him." Sophia stared at the little boy, at his sister standing beside her, radiating fierce, desperate love. The carefully suppressed memories surged again, the cold, the hunger, the profound loneliness of being utterly adrift in the world. 30 years of building walls, accumulating wealth, achieving power, and suddenly, she felt the phantom chill of that long-ago despair. She wasn't the type to offer comfort. She didn't do hugs. But looking at Mia's tear-streaked face, at Timmy's frail form, something inside her cracked. Not melted, perhaps, but fractured just enough to let a sliver of unwanted empathy through. She couldn't bring them home. That was unthinkable. Too complicated, too messy. But she couldn't walk away either. Not completely. She turned to Mia, her voice still clipped but lacking its earlier sharpness. "Stay here. Don't move." Returning to the car, she spoke quietly to Michael, giving him swift, precise instructions. He nodded, his expression betraying nothing, and made a quick call. Within minutes, another, less conspicuous sedan pulled up. Sophia retrieved a thick envelope from her briefcase, emergency cash she always kept, and pressed it into Mia's hand. "There's a place you can stay tonight," Sophia said, her gaze flicking towards a second car. "It's warm, dry. There's food. Someone will meet you there. Use this money for whatever you need immediately, milk, medicine." She paused, the unfamiliarity of the situation making her feel awkward, exposed. "Go now. Get your brother out of this rain." Mia stared at the envelope, then at Sophia, her eyes wide with disbelief and a dawning flicker of hope. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching the money like a lifeline. "Thank you, miss." Sophia watched as Mia carefully woke Timmy, bundling him tighter in the thin blanket before helping him towards the waiting car. The door closed, and the car pulled away smoothly, disappearing into the rainy night. Sophia finally sank into the plush leather seat of her own town car. The door clicked shut, encasing her once more in luxurious silence. But the silence felt different now. It felt colder, emptier. She had solved the immediate problem efficiently, discreetly. Yet the image of Mia's desperate eyes, of Timmy's small, shivering form, lingered stubbornly behind her eyelids. She had offered temporary relief, a bandage on a gaping wound. What happened tomorrow? The question hung in the air, heavy and unwelcome. For the first time in a very long time, Sophia Pierce felt profoundly, deeply unsettled. Sophia slept poorly, haunted by fragmented dreams of rain-slicked streets and small, coughing children. The next morning, the efficiency that usually defined her routine felt forced. Over her customary solitary breakfast of black coffee and grapefruit in the sun-drenched morning room of her Chestnut Hill estate, she found her thoughts drifting back to Mia and Timmy. She had acted on impulse, a rare deviation from her meticulously planned life. The children were safe for now, ensconced in a small, discreet corporate apartment Pierce Foods kept for emergencies, clean, functional, anonymous. Her head of security, Arthur Evans, a retired police captain whose loyalty she trusted implicitly, had overseen their arrival and ensured they had basic provisions. He'd reported back that the girl was wary but responsible, the boy quiet and feverish. Sophia knew the logical next step: contact Child Protective Services. Let the system handle it. It was the clean, detached solution. Yet, she hesitated. The image of Mia's fierce protectiveness, the echo of her own long-buried past, it created a dissonant chord within her. Handing them over felt like giving up on them. Like someone long ago might have given up on her if circumstances had been slightly different. She instructed Evans to arrange for a pediatrician to visit the apartment discreetly. The report confirmed malnutrition, dehydration, and the beginnings of bronchitis for Timmy. Nothing life-threatening if treated promptly, but a stark indicator of their recent hardship. Evans also did a preliminary background check. Mia Thorpe, 13, and Timothy Thorpe, 4. Their mother, Sarah Thorpe, had indeed died about 5 weeks prior, pneumonia, exacerbated by poor living conditions. Neighbors in their former low-income apartment building confirmed Sarah had been a single mother struggling with cleaning jobs. The father wasn't in the picture. After Sarah's death, the landlord had evicted the children. They'd been slipping through the cracks ever since. Driven by a curiosity she didn't fully understand, Sophia decided to visit the apartment herself that afternoon. She chose clothes that were expensive but understated, wanting to observe without overwhelming. Evans accompanied her, waiting discreetly outside the apartment door. Mia answered her knock, her eyes widening slightly in surprise. She looked marginally better cleaner, wearing fresh clothes, simple sweatsuits Evans had procured, but still wary, clutching Timmy's hand protectively. Timmy, tucked onto the sofa with a new blanket, looked pale but was no longer coughing quite as raggedly. The apartment was tidy, the remains of simple sandwiches on plates on the coffee table. "Miss Pierce," Mia said softly, stepping aside to let her in. "Sophia," she corrected automatically, then mentally cursed her lapse in formality. "How is your brother?" "Better," Mia said, relief softening her features slightly. "The doctor came, gave him medicine, said he needs rest and food." She hesitated. "Thank you for everything." Sophia gave a curt nod, uncomfortable with the gratitude. She surveyed the small living room. "Have you eaten properly?" "Yes. There was food in the fridge, and I used some of the money for more milk and soup." Mia held up a half-empty gallon jug of Pierce Foods brand milk almost offensively. "It's good milk." Sophia merely nodded again, picking up a subtle nuance. The girl noticed brands, quality, even in her desperation. She asked Mia a few questions about their mother, their life before. Mia answered cautiously, her sentences short, revealing little emotion but painting a picture of constant struggle, overshadowed by her mother's love and her own premature burden of responsibility. As Sophia was preparing to leave, her longtime head housekeeper, Mrs. Davenport, called her cell phone. Evelyn Davenport had managed Sophia's large estate for nearly 20 years, a woman of quiet competence and unwavering loyalty. One of the few people whose opinion Sophia valued, even if she rarely showed it. Sophia had briefly informed her of the situation, needing her help coordinating necessities for the children. "Madam," Mrs. Davenport began, her voice calm but laced with concern, "forgive me for intruding, but Arthur Evans mentioned you were visiting the children directly. I only wish to inquire, what are your long-term intentions? Bringing individuals like that with unknown backgrounds directly into your sphere, it carries risks. Security, health, disruptions to your household." Sophia bristled slightly at the implication, but she recognized the genuine concern in her housekeeper's tone. It wasn't judgment, but practicality. "Their background is becoming clearer, Evelyn," Sophia said coolly, "and their health is being addressed. As for my intentions, I haven't decided yet." "Of course, madam," Mrs. Davenport replied smoothly. "Should you require any further assistance, clothing, educational materials, anything, please don't hesitate to ask. We simply want to ensure everything proceeds smoothly." Hanging up, Sophia felt a renewed sense of conflict. Mrs. Davenport was right. Integrating these children into her life, even temporarily, was fraught with complications. They were traumatized, needy. Her life was ordered, controlled, solitary. It was madness to consider disrupting it. Yet, as she looked back at Mia, who was patiently trying to coax Timmy to take another spoonful of soup, Sophia saw an echo of her own fierce will to survive. She saw intelligence in Mia's watchful eyes, resilience in her small frame. There was something there, a spark beneath the grime and fear. Leaving the apartment, Sophia felt no closer to a decision, but the thought of handing them over to the impersonal bureaucracy of the foster care system felt increasingly wrong. It felt like closing a door she herself had desperately needed opened decades ago. She spent the next few days observing from a distance. Evans provided daily updates. Mia managed the money carefully, ensuring Timmy had everything he needed. She kept the small apartment spotless. She asked Evans for books, simple ones for Timmy, and surprisingly, a basic cookbook she found in the apartment's small kitchen. She was trying, with fierce determination, to create a semblance of normalcy, of home, in their sterile temporary lodging. One afternoon, Evans reported that Mia had asked if there was any way she could earn their keep. "She wants to work, MS. Pierce," Evans said, a note of respect in his voice. "Try to offer to clean the hallways or sort recycling down in the building service area." That settled it. The girl wasn't looking for a handout. She was looking for dignity, for a chance. Sophia made a decision, one that went against every logical, self-protective instinct she possessed. It was risky, potentially disastrous. But the alternative, walking away, now felt like a betrayal of something fundamental within herself. She wouldn't hand them off. She would offer them something else. A chance, guarded, structured, on her terms, but a chance nonetheless. Sophia Pierce did not do things by halves. Having made the decision, she moved with characteristic speed and precision, though the undertaking itself felt utterly alien. Contacting Child Protective Services was bypassed through discreet legal channels managed by her top attorneys, who established Sophia as a temporary private guardian, citing unusual circumstances and her capacity to provide exceptional resources. A process smoothed considerably by her influence and wealth. She decided against bringing Mia and Timmy into the main house immediately. Her estate was vast, including a beautifully appointed, self-contained guest house nestled amidst the sprawling gardens, offering privacy and a necessary degree of separation. It was luxurious by any standard, yet felt less intimidating than the imposing formality of the main residence. Mrs. Davenport, ever the professional, oversaw its preparation, ensuring it was stocked with child-friendly furnishings, clothing, toys, and, crucially, a well-equipped kitchen. The transition was carefully managed. Mia and Timmy were brought to the estate, wide-eyed and silent, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the grounds, the quiet opulence. Sophia laid out the ground rules clearly but not unkindly. This was their space. They were safe here. Their needs would be met. But there were expectations, respect for property, adherence to routines, and, for Mia, a commitment to education. Sophia hired an experienced, retired teacher, a gentle but firm woman named Mrs. Gable, to begin tutoring Mia immediately, assessing her educational level, sporadic and significantly behind, and creating a personalized curriculum. For Timmy, arrangements were made for him to attend a high-quality local preschool program, giving him structure and interaction with other children. Regular therapy sessions were also arranged for both children with a specialist experienced in trauma and bereavement. Sophia understood, intellectually at least, that stability and professional help were crucial. Mia, initially reserved and watchful, slowly began to respond to the structured environment. She attacked her studies with the same fierce determination she'd applied to surviving on the streets. She was bright, absorbing information quickly, her gaps in knowledge startling, but her capacity to learn immense. Timmy, surrounded by consistent care, nutritious food, and engaging activities, gradually shed his shell. The persistent cough disappeared, and the wary look in his eyes was slowly replaced by the natural curiosity of a healthy young boy. Sophia maintained a degree of distance at first, visiting the guest house daily, checking on their progress, having brief, somewhat formal conversations with Mia. She observed Mia's interactions with Mrs. Gable, her careful handling of the new books and materials, her quiet pride in mastering a difficult concept. She also noticed Mia's fascination with the kitchen. Having access to ingredients, Mia started experimenting tentatively, following recipes from the cookbook she'd found, her movements precise, her focus intense. One afternoon, Sophia found Mia frowning at a carton of Pierce Foods organic milk she'd taken from the guest house refrigerator. "Is something wrong with the milk?" Sophia asked. Mia looked up, startled. "Oh, no, MS. Pierce. It's fine. Just..." She hesitated. Sometimes, even the good milk tastes a little flat, like it's tired. Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Tired milk?" Mia flushed slightly. "I don't know how to explain it. Like the freshness is gone. Not spoiled, just less alive." Her unusual description lodged itself in Sophia's mind. A few weeks later, Sophia was meeting with Dr. Eris Thorne, the meticulous head of Pierce Foods' Research and Development Department, discussing consumer feedback on a new yogurt line. On impulse, Sophia asked Thorne about milk quality and freshness perception. Thorne launched into a technical explanation about pasteurization effects, fat globule distribution, and volatile organic compounds that determine flavor profile. Thinking of Mia, Sophia had an idea. "Eris," she said, "I have a protege of sorts, young, but with an unusually discerning palate. I'd like her to sit in on some of your team's tasting sessions, unofficially, as an educational exercise." Thorne looked surprised, but agreed readily. Sophia Pierce's requests, however unusual, were not questioned. She presented the idea to Mia as part of her business education, a chance to see how Pierce Foods ensured the quality of its products. Intrigued, Mia agreed. Under Sophia's careful chaperoning, Mia began occasionally attending sessions in the pristine R&D labs. Initially intimidated, she sat quietly, observing the trained panelists scoring milk samples for aroma, mouthfeel, sweetness, off notes. During one session, focused on testing different suppliers for their standard whole milk line, the panelists were debating subtle variations. Dr. Thorne, partly to indulge Sophia, partly out of curiosity, offered Mia a sample from the coated cups. "Any thoughts, young lady?" Mia took a small sip, her brow furrowing in concentration. She tasted it again. "This one," she said, pointing at cup C, "it tastes a little like the cows ate something different. Maybe grassy? And this one," she indicated cup E, "is weaker. Like it has more water, even though it shouldn't." The panelists exchanged glances. Thorne checked his notes. Cup C was from a supplier known for its pasture-raised cows. Cup E had indeed been flagged in preliminary technical analysis for being fractionally below the target butterfat percentage. Mia hadn't used technical jargon, but she had accurately identified key differentiating characteristics purely by taste and observation. Thorne looked at Sophia with newfound respect. "Your protege," he murmured, "has quite the palate." Sophia felt a flicker of something akin to pride. It wasn't a magical talent, she realized, but rather a heightened sensitivity, perhaps honed by the necessity of distinguishing safe from unsafe, fresh from stale, during her time on the streets. Combined with her innate intelligence and intense focus, it was a genuine, if raw, skill. This marked a subtle shift. Sophia began involving Mia more deliberately, not in a job, but in a bespoke apprenticeship. Mia accompanied her on chaperone visits to dairy farms, processing plants, packaging facilities. Sophia explained supply chains, quality control protocols, marketing strategies. Mia soaked it all up, asking sharp, insightful questions. She was learning the food business from the inside out, guided by the industry's most formidable player. It was an education unlike any other, unconventional, intense, and tailor-made, forging an unexpected link between the cold food mogul and the girl who had simply asked for a job to buy milk. The years scrolled by, measured in school terms, changing seasons across the Chestnut Hill estate gardens, and the steady, quiet blossoming of the two lives Sophia Pierce had unexpectedly taken under her wing. For years after that rainy night encounter, the guest house was no longer a separate entity, but an integrated part of the household's rhythm. Mia, now 17, bore little resemblance to the desperate, drenched girl who had approached Sophia's car. Stability, nutrition, education, and dedicated therapy had worked wonders. She was poised and articulate. Her high school grades were exceptional, and she navigated the social complexities of her private school with a quiet confidence that hinted at her inner resilience. The wariness in her eyes had been replaced by an open, intelligent curiosity, though her empathy, forged in hardship, remained her defining trait. She hadn't forgotten where she came from, but she was no longer defined solely by it. Timmy, at 8 years old, was a bright, energetic boy, thriving in elementary school, obsessed with dinosaurs and soccer. The trauma of his early years had left shadows, occasionally surfacing as nightmares or moments of anxiety, but consistent therapy and the unwavering security of his life with Mia and Sophia had allowed him to heal and grow into a remarkably well-adjusted child. He adored Mia and had developed a surprisingly warm, trusting bond with Sophia, whom he viewed with a mixture of awe and affection. Sophia, too, had undergone a profound, albeit subtle, transformation. The rigid control she exerted over her business empire had loosened its grip on her personal life. She found herself adjusting her schedule to attend Timmy's school concerts or Mia's debate competitions. She learned to offer praise, to listen patiently to adolescent anxieties, to navigate parent-teacher conferences. Mrs. Davenport occasionally remarked, with a discreet smile, that the household seemed lighter since the children arrived. Sophia still maintained boundaries, her natural reserve preventing overt displays of affection, but the ice around her heart had significantly thawed. Mia and Timmy weren't just charges. They were, in the truest sense of the word, becoming her family. Mia's informal apprenticeship at Pierce Foods had continued and deepened. Her palate, honed by Dr. Thorne and his team, was now a respected, albeit unofficial, asset in R&D. More than that, she possessed a keen understanding of consumer needs, particularly those often overlooked by corporate boardrooms. She spent a summer interning, a properly structured educational internship arranged by Sophia, in the marketing department, analyzing demographic data and market trends. It was during this internship, while researching ways Pierce Foods could enhance its community outreach programs, that Mia had her breakthrough insight. She remembered the constant struggle her mother faced finding affordable milk that would last, especially with unreliable refrigeration in their old apartment building. Fresh milk was expensive and perishable. Powdered milk often tasted poor and lacked essential nutrients. Mia began hesitantly one evening, approaching her in the large, comfortable library where Sophia often worked late. "I've been thinking about milk. For families like mine was." Sophia looked up from her reports, giving Mia her full attention. "Fresh milk is best, but it's expensive and needs good refrigeration," Mia continued, gaining confidence as she laid out her thoughts. What if Pierce Foods could develop a different kind of milk? Something shelf-stable, that doesn't need to be kept cold until it's opened, but still tastes really good and has all the vitamins kids need? And make it affordable, maybe through partnerships. She presented her research, data on food insecurity in urban areas, the nutritional gaps faced by low-income children, the limitations of existing long-life milk products, often perceived as tasting inferior. She spoke passionately about the difference reliable access to nutritious milk could make. Sophia listened intently. Mia wasn't just talking about taste. She was talking about logistics, nutrition, accessibility, affordability, and social responsibility. It was a comprehensive, well-reasoned pitch, rooted in lived experience but backed by solid data. It addressed a real need and aligned perfectly with Pierce Foods' resources and distribution network. Moreover, Sophia saw the spark in Mia's eyes, the passion, the drive, the desire to make a difference. It reminded Sophia, uncomfortably and yet proudly, of herself at that age. "Shelf-stable UHT milk exists, Mia," Sophia pointed out gently. "The challenge is taste perception and fortification." "I know," Mia countered eagerly. "But Dr. Thorne's team is already working on new processing techniques to improve flavor stability. What if we focus specifically on making UHT milk that kids would actually like to drink, fortified specifically for their needs, and created a distribution model to get to them?" Sophia leaned back in her chair, considering. It was ambitious, developing a new product line, optimizing taste and nutrition in a UHT format, creating a targeted distribution program. It was a significant undertaking, but it was also brilliant. It had the potential for both commercial success and genuine social impact. And it was Mia's idea, born from her own difficult past. "All right, Mia," Sophia said after a moment, a rare smile touching her lips. "Let's explore this. Put together a formal proposal with Dr. Thorne. Business case, R&D requirements, potential partners for distribution. If the numbers work, Pierce Foods will back it." Mia's face lit up with an incandescent joy. "Thank you, Sophia. I won't let you down." Over the next year, under Sophia's guidance and collaborating closely with Dr. Thorne and various Pierce Food departments, Mia threw herself into the project. She participated in countless taste tests, researched fortification options, helped develop branding concepts, and even contributed ideas for potential community partner schools, after-school programs, food banks like Philadelphia's Philabundance. They decided to call the product line Keystone Kids Milk, rooting it in their home state and emphasizing its target audience. It was more than just product development. It was the culmination of Mia's journey, a testament to her resilience and potential. And for Sophia, it represented a profound investment, not just in a new product line, but in the future of the young woman who had unexpectedly shown her the meaning of trust and the quiet power of nurturing talent. Mia turned 18 amidst a flurry of college applications and the final preparations for the Keystone Kids Milk launch. She had blossomed into a remarkable young woman, accepted early admission to Cornell University's prestigious food science program, a future Sophia was immensely proud of and fully prepared to fund. The launch event wasn't just a product rollout. It felt like a graduation, a culmination, a celebration of potential realized. The event was held not in a stuffy hotel ballroom, but at the Franklin Institute, a nod to Philadelphia's heritage of innovation and community spirit. Attendees included Pierce Foods executives, nutrition experts, representatives from city government and partner organizations, schools, food banks, community centers, and the media. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Sophia watched from a discreet seat near the front as Mia walked confidently to the podium. Dressed in a simple, elegant suit, Mia looked composed, but Sophia could see the slight tremble in her hands. Mia took a deep breath and began to speak. She didn't start with market projections or branding strategies. She started with her story. She spoke quietly, yet clearly, about a cold, rainy night 4 years earlier, about a desperate plea for milk for her little brother. She spoke of hunger, fear, and uncertainty, not with self-pity, but with a quiet dignity that held the audience rapt. Access to something as basic as milk shouldn't be a luxury, Mia said, her voice gaining strength. It's fundamental for health, for growth, for potential. Keystone Kids Milk was born from that need. It's designed to be nutritious, delicious, shelf-stable, and affordable, so that parents don't have to choose between feeding their children well and paying the rent. She went on to explain the product, the fortification, the technology, her words precise and knowledgeable. She thanked Dr. Thorne and his team, the marketing department, and the community partners who had already signed on for the distribution program. Finally, she turned her gaze toward Sophia. There's one person without whom none of this would be possible, Mia said, her voice thick with emotion. Someone who saw potential where others might have seen only a problem. Someone who gave me more than just shelter or food. She gave me a chance. She gave me an education, mentorship, belief. Sophia Pierce didn't just change my life and my brother's life that night, she gave us one. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back fiercely. Thank you, Sophia. A wave of applause filled the room. Sophia felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest, a tightness in her throat. She met Mia's gaze across the room and gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod, conveying a depth of pride and affection words couldn't capture. Later, Sophia took the stage to officially announce the launch and the accompanying Pierce Promise Milk program. This wasn't just about selling milk, it was a corporate commitment. Pierce Foods pledged to subsidize the costs significantly for partner organizations and to donate a percentage of all Keystone Kids milk profits to fund nutritional programs in underserved communities. It was the realistic, sustainable evolution of the free milk fountain's idea, practical, impactful, and far-reaching. Mia Thorpe is the inspiration behind Keystone Kids, Sophia stated, her usual reserve softened by genuine emotion. Her insight, her determination, and her heart are woven into this initiative. Pierce Foods is proud to support her vision. She kept her remarks brief, letting the program and Mia's story speak for themselves. The launch was a resounding success, generating positive press and immediate interest from community groups across the state and beyond. But for Sophia, the true success was measured later that evening, back at the quiet sanctuary of the Chestnut Hill estate. They were having a simple celebratory dinner, just Sophia, Mia, and Timmy, now a bubbly 9-year-old excitedly recounting his day at school. Mia was recounting a funny moment from the launch event, laughing when Timmy interrupted. Mia said thank you to Sophia. Timmy declared seriously, looking across the table at Sophia. But I want to say thank you too, for taking care of us, for being, he searched for the right word, nice. Sophia smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached her eyes. You're welcome, Timmy. Mia reached across the table, placing her hand briefly over Sophia's. He's right, she said softly. Thank you feels inadequate. For everything. She hesitated, then met Sophia's gaze directly, her eyes shining. Thank you, Mom. The word hung in the air, tentative yet profound. It wasn't said lightly. It had been earned over 4 years of shared struggles and triumphs, of boundaries tested and trust built, of discipline and encouragement, of slowly, unexpectedly becoming a family. Sophia felt the last vestiges of her old defenses crumble. Tears welled in her own eyes, startling her. She reached out, covering Mia's hand with her own. And thank you, Mia, she whispered, her voice thick. Thank you, both of you, for giving me a family. In the warm glow of the dining room, the billionaire food mogul, the resilient young woman, and the bright-eyed little boy sat together, no longer defined by their disparate pasts, but united by the intricate, unexpected, and enduring bonds of love and belonging. The simple plea for milk on a stormy night had not only changed their lives, it had rewritten their futures, creating a legacy far richer than any fortune.